Hey guys, it's Lauren, and today I'm going to show you guys how to execute this really popular baddie editing style. At first, I wasn't really too sure what the baddie editing style was, but after doing some research, I saw that it basically just consists of a lot of edgy and flashy transitions. Alright, enough said, let's get into it. So the first transition we're going to do is this puddle warp. It's this really smooth inflate and deflate, and it's really popular right now. So for this, I have two clips and they're arranged on my timeline like this. And the first thing we're gonna do is have this second clip fade in. So bring your time indicator to the very beginning of your second clip. Click on the clip and hit T on your keyboard to go to opacity. Right at this frame, add a keyframe for opacity and make it around 20%. Then drag your current time indicator forward a couple of frames and bring the opacity back to 100%. Highlight your keyframes, right click on one of them, go to Keyframe Assistant, then click on Easy Ease. Now, making sure you're still clicked on the second clip, go up to Layer, New, Adjustment Layer, and in Effects and Presets, look up an effect called Warp Puddle. Then add that to the adjustment layer. Change the frequency to 0.8, change the relative height to 1, then change both the inner radius and the inner softness to 50, change the outer radius to around 700, and lastly, change the outer softness to around 100. Drag your time indicator towards the beginning of the adjustment layer and add a keyframe for amplitude. Make this 0. Then drag your time indicator to the very first frame of your second clip while still being in the adjustment layer and change the amplitude to 0.1. Then drag your time indicator to where you want the warp to be over and bring your amplitude back to 0. Hit U on your keyboard to view these keyframes and easy ease them. Then go to your graph editor. I'm gonna be editing this in terms of speed graph, so if your graph doesn't look like mine, just click here and click on Edit Speed Graph. And we are going to make very, very soft and subtle curves, so just follow my graphs. It should look something like this. And this is what it should look like. I'm personally obsessed. So this next transition you guys have been requesting a ton, and this is a diamond zoom out with 2 clips sliding in. So for this, you want 3 clips and you want them arranged on your timeline like this. Click on the clip that's on top and then go to your rectangle masking tool and then just create a square mask that fits the entire screen. While still being clicked on this first clip, drag your time indicator to the very first frame of the second clip, then carry it down on mask so you can see mask path right here. Right on the same frame, add a keyframe for mask path and keep it like this. Then drag your time indicator to where you want the diamond to stop zooming out. I dragged mine towards like the middle of my last clip and then add another keyframe for mask path. Then go back to your selection tool. So make sure you're still clicked on the clip but that you're not clicked on the keyframe. If you're clicked on the keyframe, you're gonna see these little squares in the corners, but we wanna see these circles instead. So basically we're gonna rotate this like a diamond. So I want this point to be on the bottom of the diamond, then this point to be the side of the diamond, and then this point to be the top of the diamond, and this point to be the other side. And of course I have to fix it. It looks a little bit weird, but you can just adjust the points like this. Then easy ease these keyframes and go to your graph editor. Just follow my graph. So now I'm gonna click on my second clip, which is the one right below it, and I'm gonna go back to my rectangle masking tool, and I'm just gonna mask the portion that I want to be on the left side of the screen. So I'm gonna do like that much. Then I'm gonna go back to my selection tool and hit P on my keyboard to go to position, and I'm just gonna decrease this first value to move it to the left side of the screen. Then I'm going to do the exact same for my third clip. I'm gonna mask the portion of the photo that I want. I'm gonna go back to my selection tool and hit P on my keyboard and then increase this first value to move it to the other side of the screen. And for me, I left this little gap right here because I like when there's a little black line. From here, all you need to do is make these 2 clips slide into the screen using a slide transition. You can either use this position and transform by just adjusting the second value, moving it up and down. Or like me, you can use Blur Mo Curves, which is a Sapphire plugin, so if you have it, I recommend using this. I'm just gonna speed through this part because slide and transitions are super simple and I've shown you guys how to do them a million times. And this is what it should look like. So the next transition is this red tint overlay with the scale distort and luma fade in. So for this, you're only gonna need 1 clip, but you're gonna click on it and hit Command D on your keyboard to duplicate it. Then you wanna drag this duplicate a little bit over right to the point where you want it to first appear. To this duplicate, of course, we're gonna add a red tint. So in Effects and Presets, look up Tint. You can either use Tint or S-Tint, but I'm just gonna use Tint because everyone has it. And I'm gonna drag that into my duplicate. Click on where it says Map White to and change the color to red. Then in Effects and Presets, look up Motion Tile and add that to your duplicate. Change the output width and the output height to 250 and make sure to apply mirror edges. Again in Effects and Presets, look up an effect called Flop and add that to your duplicate. It's gonna mirror it the other way. Now hit S on your keyboard to go to scale and click on this little chain to separate the two scale values so we can create a warp effect. At the very beginning, add a keyframe and change this first value to like 60 or 70 depending on how intense you want the warp to be. Move your time indicator forward 2 frames and bring the scale to 120. Then drag your time indicator forward around 7 frames and bring the scale to 90. Drag it forward another 7 frames and bring the scale to 105. And again, drag it forward 7 frames and bring the scale back to 100. Then easy ease these keyframes. And you should have this warpy effect. Now in Effects and Presets, look up Dissolve Luma and add that to your duplicate. At the very beginning, add a keyframe for dissolve percent and make it around 20%. Drag your time indicator to the point where your scale has stopped moving so it's back at 100, and bring the dissolve percent back to 0. Hit U on your keyboard to view the Luma keyframes and easy ease them. Then go to your speed graph and follow my graph. And this is what it should look like. Next, we're gonna do this diagonal mask null object transition. So for this, you're gonna need 3 clips and you want them arranged as such. This was a little mistake on my part. It would actually be better if it looked like this instead of this. You want the clip on the bottom to actually be shorter. Essentially, it doesn't matter because that extra portion is covered by the clip that's on top of it. But I just wanted to let you know there's no reason why it should be that long. These 2 clips on the bottom are going to be a part of the bottom slide, and then this clip you see right here that's on the top is gonna be a part of the top mask. So primarily on this top clip that's acting as the top portion of the slide, I'm actually gonna click on this eye icon so we can't see it anymore, because first we have to worry about the slide transition between these 2 bottom clips. So I'm just gonna do that slide transition right now. Again, I'm going to speed through this part. Now highlight these 2 bottom clips, right click on one of them, go to Pre-Compose, and make sure you're clicked on this circle and this square. Make sure you're still clicked on the pre-composed clip and go up to Layer, New, Shape Layer, and click on the pen tool. Then create a diagonal from this left-hand corner to around right here. Caret down on Shape Layer, caret down on Contents, caret down on Shape 1, then caret down on Stroke 1, change the color from white to black, and make the stroke width around 20. Now making sure you're still clicked on the pen tool, click on the pre-composed layer itself, and create a mask that cuts off this portion of the pre-composed clip, so like this. Go back to your selection tool and pre-compose your shape layer with your pre-composed layer. Making sure you're still clicked on the pre-composed layer, hit P on your keyboard to go to position, and by increasing the second position value, just drag this clip to the very bottom of the screen until you can't see it at all anymore. Now we're gonna re-enable the view on our top clip. Click on the top clip and hit S on your keyboard to go to scale, and you wanna increase the scale a little bit and drag it down a little bit because we want some of it to spill out on the bottom beyond the composition, so it acts as a background for that pre-composed clip. You're gonna see what I mean. And now we're actually gonna drag this top clip to be below the pre-composed clip. To do so, you just click right here where you see the name of the image, hold down right here, and then just pull it downwards. Make sure to be clicked on the pre-composed layer, which is the one that we just dragged to the top, and go up to Layer, New, Null Object Layer. Highlight both of the clips that are below the null object layer, press down on one of these spirals, and drag it towards the null object layer, then let go. As you can see, they're now both connected to the null object layer. Now click on the null object layer and hit P on your keyboard to go to position. At the very beginning, add a keyframe for position and just keep it at these values. Then drag your time indicator to where you want the initial slide up transition to be over, and start decreasing the second position value. So it should look like this. Then drag your time indicator to the middle of these 2 keyframes and add another keyframe, but don't adjust its value. Easy ease these keyframes. Make sure you're still on speed graph and follow my graph. You want this second curve to be a little bit softer than the first curve, and this is what it should look like. So this next transition is the circle mask rotation with the scale distort. So for this, you're gonna need 3 clips and you want them arranged on your timeline like so. And what I'm first going to do is create the rotation in the center, and then I'll work on the scale distort. So I'm gonna click on my first clip and hit Command D on my keyboard to duplicate it. Then I'm going to make my duplicate go into a clockwise rotation, which is from 0 to 50 degrees. So I'm just gonna speed through this part. Now go up to your rectangle masking tool, and I'm gonna make a mask of a square right in the center of my duplicated clip. Then caret down on mask 1, click on where it says shape, and change it from rectangle to ellipse. So now it's gonna look like this. Okay, so for our next 2 clips, on top is the clip that's going to be in the circular center, and that's going to be rotating. And then right below that, the clip on the bottom is this clip right here, and that's going to be in our background, and it's going to be mirrored. So just like I did before, I'm first gonna work with this clip that's going to be in the circular center. And what I'm first gonna do is actually decrease the scale. And I'm also gonna drag its position so that the part of the photo that I want to be in the center of the circle is right in the center of my composition. Because if I just masked it like this, then my circle mask would only cover this area, which is basically just her nose, lips, and shoulder. But when I do it like this, I know my mask will cover her entire head and most of her body. So after you zoom this clip out, you're going to pre-compose it. And then just like last time, I'm gonna do a rotation transition. So this time I'm gonna go from negative 50 degrees to 0 degrees, and I'm just gonna speed through this part. So now I'm gonna go back to my clip that has the circular mask, and I'm gonna hit M on it to view the mask. Then I'm gonna click on where it says mask 1 and hit Command C on my keyboard to copy it. Then I'm gonna go back to my pre-composed clip, which is this clip right here, and I'm gonna hit Command V to paste the same mask. Now what we're gonna do is duplicate the circular mask by hitting Command D on our keyboards. And for the copy that's in the background, which is this copy right here, it should be below the first copy. We're going to add an effect called tint, just like we used before. So just drag that in. So for this, you can choose whatever color you want to do. I'm just going to choose white. And in order to do white, I'm just gonna make sure both of these rectangles are white. So I'm just gonna click on where it's black and change that to white. But let's say, for example, you wanted to do blue, you just change the color of both of these rectangles to blue. Now, making sure you're still clicked on this clip, hit S on your keyboard to go to scale, and increase the scale so you can see it in the background. So it creates a border. Okay, so now let's do the scale distort for our first clip. So for this first clip, like I showed you before, the clip on the top is the circular mask that's rotating, and then the clip on the bottom, which is this one right here, is the one that's going to go into the scale distort. So make sure you're clicked on the bottom clip and hit S on your keyboard to go to scale. Click on the little chains right here to separate your scale values. Towards the beginning of the clip, add a keyframe for scale and keep it at 100. Hit O on your keyboard to bring your time indicator to the end of the clip, and increase this scale to around 150. Ease these keyframes, and follow my speed graph. Now for this background clip, which is this clip right here, I'm gonna have it first slide a little bit to the left. Then we are going to pre-compose this clip. Now in Effects and Presets, look up an effect called Mirror and add that to your clip. Then you can faintly see this little circle right here. We want to drag it so it's right in the center, overlapping this circle. And this is what the transition should look like. Next, we're gonna do this diagonal mask reveal. For this, you're gonna need 2 clips and you want them arranged on your timeline like this. And so we're only gonna be working with the second clip for this transition. So make sure you're clicked on the second clip and click on your rectangle masking tool, and then just make a thin rectangle mask right in the center of the clip. Go back to your selection tool, then caret down on mask so you can see mask path. At the very beginning, add a keyframe for mask path. Make sure to click away from the keyframe, but then click again on your clip so you have these little circles. And we're gonna bring these points close together, but in a diagonal pattern. So kind of just follow what I'm doing. So it should look like this. Then drag your time indicator to where you want the mask to be fully opened, and then just drag these points outwards, still keeping that diagonal shape. Then ease these keyframes, and follow my speed graph. Now hit Command D on your keyboard to make a duplicate of this mask layer. Click on the duplicate that's on the bottom and hit S on your keyboard to go to scale, and change the scale to around 120. Then press T on your keyboard to go to opacity, and change the opacity to 40%. And this is what it should look like. And to close this video off, I'm gonna show you how to do 2 of my favorite baddie colorings. So this first one has a warm tint and white film damage. In Effects and Presets, look up Magic Bullet Looks and add that to your clip. Then go to Edit, hover your mouse over Tools and scroll until you see this effect Warm/Cool and double tap to add it. Drag your little circle up towards here to the kind of green/yellow section, and it should add this tint over your video. Go back to the subject category of Tools and double click on Pop and increase that to around 30. Lastly, go to the Post category and find this effect called S-Curve and add it, and just make your curve look like mine. Then click on Finished. Now in Effects and Presets, look up Film Damage and add that to your clip. Change all of these values to 0 except for the dust density and the flicker. Then carrot down on dust details and change both of these black rectangles to white. And this is what it should look like. This next coloring is one that I use all the time, and it's definitely a lot softer. Again, add Magic Bullet Looks to your clip and go to Edit. In the subject category, add Hue/Saturation and bring it to 122%. Again, in subject, add exposure and increase that to around 0.5 stops. Then go to the matte category and add gradient. Click right in the center of the circle so you're on white, and then choose a light gray for the color. Then make this gradient line smaller and rotate it so your gradient is on the bottom of the screen instead. Then go to the camera category and add an effect called shoulder. And lastly, go to the post category and add ranged HSL. Drag this orange dot in a little bit and this red dot in a bit as well. Then press finished. Look up film damage again and add it to your clip. Just like last time, make everything except for the dust density and the flicker 0. And this time I'm gonna keep the dust color as black. And this is what it should look like. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed. And please comment down below other editing styles that you want me to do a little guide to. Bye!